Mere conservatism.
David Perry, and I'm Cleve Walker, and this is another edition of Mere Conservatism. Well, okay, the red wave was a red drizzle. Okay, let's face it. It's not
It was
done.
pretty pathetic.
It's not done yet, though. I mean, it's not over with.
Yeah.
And which is even more troubling in a way because I wanted it to be over with one way or the other. But, well, before we get to that bad part, let me get to the part that I am happy. The Republican Party, under the leadership of Ron DeSantis, took over the state of Florida. Took it over.
There was a red wave in Florida. That's true.
That's where it was.
Massive.
Which is important on two reasons. By the way, I want to mention this story. 6 school board candidates in Florida who were endorsed by Governor DeSantis also won races. Now, the reason I bring that little tidbit up is it was on every level.
Yeah.
Statewide, counties, every level, the state of Florida. And not only that, but we know that the Hispanic population there, again, red.
Yeah.
Or turning more red.
That was amazing. Well, that is what competent leadership will do for you.
Yeah.
The story there is that Ron DeSantis has done a fantastic job.
Right.
He's done an absolutely great job. He's a great candidate. And that's something that we didn't have with a lot of the Republican candidates that were out there. A lot of them had not held the office before, so they didn't have a record of good governance that people could point to.
Right.
And so that was a weakness, I think, for a lot of them. But you got Ron DeSantis, who barely won his governor's race the first time
remember that.
around.
If the other guy had won, Florida would have been devastated.
Yeah, it was a nail-biter last time. He barely won, and now it's what do we have? The reddest state in the country, just about. The state of Florida. Which
Seriously.
And what he has done with constituency groups that Democrats think belong to them has been unbelievable. Those Hispanic groups that you talked about. It's just what happens when you do a great job.
But not only was DeSantis an effective leader, which is the most important thing, but also he was one of those people, again, you could rally around because he took it to the media. He took it to everybody who came at him, sort of like Trump again, but without all of the other stuff. And I think that was important.
Yeah.
Here's another guy who says, hey, I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to back down. I don't care whether it's Disney or the media. I am going to have my way.
And he's got coattails.
Exactly. Obviously,
he did
does.
well. So the other Republicans
Marco Rubio did wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. And I just don't know, based on the election results that we've seen, Trump may not have that anymore. Now we've seen him in the past have some sway and have some power to help certain candidates in certain ways. We've also seen him have not very much effect, or maybe even negative effect.
There was a time, though, he did, for example, rescue Ted Cruz's campaign and Rubio's at one point, as far as
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he did.
But he has at times been somebody that had a positive impact on the other races. But can you imagine him endorsing and stumping for school board members and stuff?
That's a good point.
I mean, I'm just saying, like,
no, he never had that.
In Ron DeSantis, you've got somebody who clearly has coattails, did in Florida, and I'm just not really sure that that Trump has that. You noticed when Obama was president, by the way, that he never really had coattails.
None whatsoever.
He would lose seats. He lost so many seats for the Democrats.
His was the red wave that occurred during Obama's second.
Right, and Trump may be in that state now. Trump had made some endorsements this past cycle that turned out to be really bad. Mm-hmm. I mean, they did not perform. They didn't do very well. They turned out to be very bad endorsements on his part. And even at the time of the endorsements, like people like Dr. Oz, you have to wonder, like, why is Trump endorsing this person? Is it just because he's been on TV? He recognizes the name, so he's going to endorse the guy?
Somebody says his wife recommended it.
Maybe. I mean,
but that being aside, I want to say right now, I don't believe any Republican candidate could beat Fetterman now. I really don't. I think that
what?
I think Fetterman basically was locked in. The Democrat machinery in Pennsylvania would have beaten any GOP candidate.
I just don't think that's right.
I really do. I'm sorry. There are some places, and I'm not saying they're as bad as California yet. All right. Parts of New York are the same way. They've got it baked in. The machinery is so there, and also the chicanery, but I won't get into that. Unless you just have, it's just going to be nearly impossible in those particular areas for the Republicans to make the headway that we thought we might to make. Think about this, okay? Forget about Oz. This is a guy who cannot talk, okay? And there was some place, I think it might have been New Jersey, I might be wrong about that, they elected a Democrat who had already passed away. But he won posthumously. I'm serious. Mm-hmm. When you have that type of a hold in certain regions, it is nearly impossible for anybody to do any better.
Yeah,
so,
I'm not somebody who thinks that that Dr. Oz was a great candidate and that no matter who we ran, we were going to lose that race. I do not believe that.
You think we should have won it? All right, I understand that, but I just say no.
I think we should have had a better candidate. That's what I'm going to say. We should have had a better candidate.
Now, I won't argue with you that he was not the best candidate.
And that's partially Donald Trump's fault. But people in Pennsylvania did have to vote for Oz in the primary.
Right.
So it's on them, too, for picking this guy.
That is the one I really get kind of angry about. Again, we're talking about a guy who's all but a vegetable in some ways. Okay. But you can't get him out of there. You can't beat him. So anyway, but get back to DeSantis a second. This showing in Florida has changed my mind because I was thinking there was still a way or a place for President Trump, and I think there still is. I just don't think it's at the head of the ticket. I think he still needs to be included in the formula, though. I think he still does carry enough of a punch, so we don't want to alienate him or anybody who backs him, because I think if we do that, we lose too. That's my opinion.
Probably it's really why the Republicans are in a very tricky and precarious position with Donald Trump, because there's about at least a third of the Republican Party that are diehard Trump
at least
voters.
It might be more,
and I think that it's a third that are diehard. I think that there's another large group that are more like me, who are people who thought Donald Trump was a good president and voted for him twice, but we're not married to the idea that he has to be the guy.
Okay, gotcha.
But there are some. But I think that there is a segment that are Trump loyalists. They've become Trump first people. Not never Trumpers, only Trumpers. That's almost how they are, to the point where they will turn on just about anybody that Trump tells them to turn on, including Santorum.
True.
Santorum. DeSantis. Why do I do that?
Rick Santorum.
They don't like Rick Santorum either. So I say all that to say this is why we're in a precarious situation, because we're not Donald Trump will not go quietly. If he's getting beat, he's going to try to take everybody down with him. He doesn't care. He's not going. What he's not going to do is think to himself, "I'm going to put America first." Frankly, he's not going to do that.
Unfortunately, he believes that's tied in with his success.
He thinks that what's best for him is what's best for America, and I think he's wrong about that. He's going to see that he's the only person that can win, or we may as well burn it all down. I really do think that he's going to be like that. And so, which means that in a Republican primary, if Trump runs, anybody that runs against Trump is going to get severely damaged. And Trump may take a lot of his voters with him. I mean, he could be. I don't think Trump would ever run independent. I don't think he wants to fool with that.
I agree.
But there are a lot of people that might be less enthusiastic about voting Republican and turning out because they're Trumpite. They're Trump acolytes.
Many would stay home,
and that's going to be a problem.
And we can't have that. I mean, if we don't have, and I really believe this, David. I don't believe he needs to be the head of the ticket, but we need to have his support.
What you're saying is that he needs to get on board.
Yeah.
You're saying that DeSantis needs to be the nominee and Trump needs to get on board.
Right.
And I agree with you. I just don't think Trump will do that. Trump is a problem. Mm-hmm. And for all his good qualities, and he was a wonderful president and all that stuff, he does have a problem with going away. Okay.
Well, he was sent away, so that's probably.
And he's got a problem with being second fiddle or not being all eyes on him. He does have a problem with seeking attention and wanting to be the center of it.
Well, on top of that, he still believes that he was robbed. Okay, that he won, and this was a cabal that did this, which I actually agree with, but I don't think at this point in time that's the thing that's going to work as far as getting us over the hump.
Well, so what I'm hoping actually is that Donald Trump, that people realize, and I think that this election could have done it, that his moment is over. Because I think that it is.
Well, I tend to agree with you now because I think we needed him when he was there. Again, we owe him the 3 Supreme Court justices who are sitting there now because he was there and not Hillary Clinton. I believe at the time he was the only one who could have defeated Hillary Clinton out of the Republican candidates available. But now, with DeSantis, we have a governor, which I always think a president is better to have been a former governor than anything else, senator or anything. We have a governor who has the drive of a Trump, the in-your-faceness of a Trump, but it's much more restrained, much more eloquent, and therefore not going to put
politically more savvy.
Not going to put his foot in his mouth.
He's politically better because he's much more strategic with how he behaves and what he does. Now his campaign ads are terrible. Maybe Trump can help him a little bit on that front. But no, they seriously are pretty rough. Okay. But really, DeSantis is just about the total package. I mean, I don't want to go too far with it, but he really kind of is. And a lot can happen. Look, we're 2 years away from a presidential election. There are a lot of candidates that probably will run. I do think that DeSantis is going to run. I do think that Trump is going to run. I think that Tim Scott is going to run. I think Nikki Haley is going to run.
I hope they don't. I mean, the last 2 you named, because especially now, even Nikki Haley, who I think wants to be president, I think that we need to be thinking about somebody needs to be a good second person on a ticket because that second person is important too.
Well, I think some of those people are going to be running for that.
And my vote is Senator Scott, by the way, for the VP. That's my vote. But
Tim Scott is awesome. Mm-hmm. He's really great, and I do think that he would make a good one. He's a little genteel.
But for example, if we have whether it's DeSantis or Trump, you need to have somebody to not be as the same way.
I guess so. I guess you're right.
Yeah, and Scott will show restraint, and yet the guy is a statesman, a good leader. He's got a proven track record.
He's a brutal racist.
All right. Well, according to the progressives, he would be.
He absolutely is. No, he would be good. But I think, Cleve, these people are going to run for president. I think they will. And I think that a lot of them should. Because as we know, when you run for president, you're not necessarily just thinking about being president. You're thinking about a lot of other things. You're thinking about strengthening the party. I mean, iron sharpens iron. These DeSantis and Trump, and they need somebody to run against. They do. It's good for everybody as long as Trump isn't taking dumps on everybody.
Yeah.
And also, you start to build out your own platform that helps do that. When you have multiple people from different areas and different things that they're focusing on, you build out the platform. You have different networks that you're building to help get out the vote efforts and campaign efforts and things like that. Because what ends up happening is, Tim Scott might build a really good campaign apparatus based in South Carolina. It's based in Charleston. It's going to reach up into North Carolina and into Georgia and all over the place. And guess what? When he's the vice presidential nominee, you get that. You get access to that network that he has built. And so that's the kind of thing that happens with these races.
And we can't forget about people like Youngkin, who successfully.
I could see Youngkin running.
Yeah, and he was also campaigning all over the place too. So there's that. So anyway, the bright spot, there was a red wave. It was just not a national one. Mm-hmm. Okay, Florida, definitely red wave. Now to something that's near and dear to your heart, and that is what's going to happen with
Braves
the Senate.
baseball. Are they signing Dansby?
No, not Braves baseball. What's going to happen with the Senate? You know, you're going to be voting again, David, because there's a runoff in your home state of Georgia. Warnock and Walker going at it, and just neither one could get that 50% margin to win. So the early voting actually starts Saturday after Thanksgiving, and it'll be the vote itself on December 6th. How do you feel?
I don't feel very good about it. I will say the vote is election day for the runoff is December 6th, and my birthday is December 7th. So for my birthday, I would really like a Walker win.
Be a good present, wouldn't it? Now, let's understand something. It was close. It was close.
Yeah.
Warnock was leading. A Libertarian was running. Maybe you didn't realize that.
I did.
And he got like 2.1%.
Mm-hmm.
In a contest like this, you know, any of that would help.
Well, that doesn't make any difference to me because now that we're going to do a runoff, there's going to be no third party, and it's a whole new group of voters.
Right. But the point is, I'm saying somebody's going to get that, what's left of that
If
third
they
party
vote.
Yeah. And Libertarians are bad that way.
This is what I'm saying, Cleve. It's a whole different pool of voters. So you can't just think, the Republicans probably going to get 90% of those Libertarian voters. I don't know. I mean,
I never say that because
who knows that they're even going to show up?
One Libertarian candidate in one race did throw his support behind the eventual Republican winner. I don't know that it will happen in Georgia.
That happened in Arizona. That hasn't helped very much.
Right, but anything in this race, if it's close, would help.
It will. It's just a matter of turnout, and so that's why I don't feel very good about it, because in Georgia you had a very successful Republican governor. Speaking of Republican governors who have done a great job, DeSantis has and Kemp has.
I agree.
And Kemp doesn't get the press that DeSantis gets, and there's a good reason for that. But he's been an excellent governor as well.
I agree.
Almost just as good. Don't forget, Georgia was the first state to open up. I think it was the first state to open back up after COVID. He actually went head-to-head against Trump.
With that decision.
Kemp did.
Yeah.
And stuck to his guns and won a big re-election bid against the incumbent Georgia governor, Stacey Abrams.
Good governor.
She thought that she was governor the whole time, even though it was Kemp. No, Kemp did an awesome job. And so the reason I bring Kemp up is because you had him dragging Herschel Walker across the finish line. All these people going out and voting for Kemp, you'd think that a lot of them would vote also for Herschel. Well, if people aren't motivated to just vote for Herschel, maybe they don't go to the polls.
I hear you.
People wanted to go out and vote for Kemp because he's been a great governor.
Kemp will not be on this ballot, but I don't think that's going to matter.
I hope it doesn't, but he needs to. I want to see him out campaigning for Herschel. But
I would be highly disappointed, and I always kind of felt he kind of kept his distance a little bit. But I will be highly disappointed if Governor Kemp does not take a more pronounced role in supporting Herschel Walker. Mm-hmm. I hope I'm not going to see him kind of arm's distance the guy, because
no, he absolutely shouldn't.
Too much is at stake.
That's right. No, he needs to be out campaigning for him. And look, Kemp had his own race to run, so I'm not on him for maybe not doing as much for Herschel. I don't think that was his role in this race that we just had, because he had his own election he had to worry about. But now that is taken care of, I do think that during these next few weeks he needs to make a lot of campaign stops and get out and stump for Herschel.
By the way, that was the other bright spot for me. Stacey Abrams probably is not going to run again. Probably will not be able to get away with calling herself the rightful governor of Georgia anymore. I think she's done.
I don't know. I will tell you, she may run for Senate if Herschel does pull it off and wins the Senate seat. She may run for Senate in 6 years.
I think about that.
No, because you had Beto in Texas. Remember, Beto has run for just about everything in Texas and lost.
He's 3 times.
Lost Congress, lost Senate, lost governor. What's next for Beto? I don't know. But Stacey Abrams, she's behind him. She's only lost governor twice. So maybe she's got something else up her sleeve. Who knows?
But the thing is, again, I thank the good Lord that she was not able to become the next governor of Georgia. Because I'm telling you, that gal ever got in there, it's over with for the Peach State.
Yeah, and luckily the governor's race in Georgia, it wasn't that close.
No,
which by the way,
very decisive.
Which by the way makes me think, when it comes to the Senate race in Georgia, was Herschel not the best candidate for that?
You're asking me my opinion,
yeah.
or you're saying that?
Yeah, because look, there's power in the incumbency. So the incumbent politician is going to get some benefit from that. So
I see what you're saying.
Warnock is getting that. However,
but when you have
in a red state,
you have an incumbent, you need to have somebody with some kind of name recognition, okay? Whether you think it was Herschel or not, because the guy who ran against him had no name recognition or anything whatsoever. And I think he was a good guy from everything I heard about him. But I don't think that person has a chance.
And I think that was the thinking behind Herschel. Not a politician, a celebrity. And I guess Republicans might think, hey, let's run celebrities. It worked for Trump. Let's just run celebrities. Well, with Herschel, I had to explain this to some people. Herschel is Georgia royalty.
Right.
He's got name recognition out the wazoo. Mm-hmm. So probably what Republicans were thinking is Herschel is a nice guy. He's a likable guy. Name recognition like crazy. It's a red state. That's what we need to win. A Republican that is very well known should win this race. And, Herschel has a checkered past. He's been very clear about that.
And they've been very clear about it on the other side. But having said that, in my humble opinion, to answer your question, if Herschel were not the candidate, I think this race is already decided.
You think so?
There's no runoff. I just really believe that.
Okay.
So at any rate,
right.
We get a chance to do it again. And the situation in Arizona, by the way, is still not decided. Okay, I mean, that's a weird.
What are they doing? I mean,
they're recounting. I mean, not recounting.
They haven't even counted all of them yet. Yeah,
here's the deal there, and I only bring this up because again, George is not the only one that's so all important. This one's important. They began a hand count audit. Okay, and so basically they said on election day the lion's share of votes in that county had been counted, but 7% of the ballots, which was about 17,000, were placed in secure drop boxes after the machines began experiencing tabulation errors. And so they needed to be counted separately.
Yeah. Well, look, I checked the vote right before I came in here, and 30% of the vote was still out.
Wow.
They'd only counted 70% of all the ballots. So those ballots that you're talking about aren't even all the ones that are still outstanding.
Right. It's the weirdest thing because this happened before.
And they have one guy counting all of them, so that's another reason it takes so long. One guy who's who lost his right arm in a boating accident, so he's right-handed, so he's got his left hand that he's counting with. He's also a pirate, so he's only got one eye. So we have a one-eyed, right-handed but pirate counting with his left hand. There's only one of them. And this is what I heard on the news is why that's taken so long to count votes in Arizona.
All I know is Carrie Lake is saying that she's still very confident.
She is very confident.
Because most of what needs to come in ostensibly is stuff really that's already supposed to favor.
Man, I hope she's right because I really would like to see her win the governor race there. Part of the big reason I want her to win is because I want her to fix the voting in Arizona.
And she said she would. And the most important part, though, is not her, it's the senator's race. And Kelly had a slight lead, a very narrow lead at the time. So I don't know what's going to happen there. But if we can win that, my goodness. And we'll know before the runoff in Georgia.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not too optimistic about McMaster.
You're not optimistic about anything at this particular point in time, and I don't blame you.
Cleve, do you think that one thing we might be seeing in our country is people sorting? I feel like, I don't know if this is true because I haven't really looked at it hard and analyzed it, but red areas getting redder.
Oh, yeah.
And blue areas getting bluer. Do you think that that's happening and that may be part of the stalemate that we're dealing with?
It is because, and the difference between Republicans and the Democrats is when they get blue, they put into place the machinery and protocols to stay that way. We don't. Okay, they do. And I mean both legal and illegal. They do whatever it takes to stay that way. So, and that definitely is a part of it. Plus the fact, I hate to say it, but hatred is a strong energizing agent. And the Democrats play that one well. It's not a matter of patriotism. It's not a matter of camaraderie or what they call unity. If they can get enough people to hating, that's why Donald Trump is their favorite punching bag. Mm-hmm. They can get anybody to hate this guy. They're going to get their base out. So we need to get our own machinery, but a lawful one. When we get in power, we need to do what DeSantis is doing. County boards, states, I don't care if dog catcher, all of them become Republicans. We just got to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. These states need to take a page out of the notebook of Ron DeSantis and replicate what he's doing as much as possible. It's never completely over. There's always the next election. As of now, I'm not somebody who thinks that democracy has been destroyed here during this election. But I'm not happy with it at all. I think the Republicans drastically underperformed. And I hate to say it, I think that Donald Trump is a drain on the party at the moment. And he's going to announce for president next week. I think that he's going to.
Right. At the time of this podcast, we don't know that for certain, but I have
a feeling that he's going. How great would it be if what the announcement actually was Ron DeSantis announcing for president. Trump marketed the whole thing like it was going to be him, and he gets up there and says, "I'd like to introduce you."
Except one thing, Governor DeSantis, I don't care how many times you ask him, is not going to tell you that he's going to run. Not right now.
No. He just got reelected.
Wrong.
But he's gonna govern as Florida governor for at least another several months before talking about running for president.
Well, David, if folks want to hear the ramblings and debates that we've had over the last several minutes, again, it's easy to do. How?
Check it out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube or Facebook or yada yada, yee, all kinds of places.
And we know it was a red drizzle. Maybe we can drizzle out a couple more senators. We'll see. David Perry and I'm Cleve Walker in this edition of Mere Conservatism. See you next time, but keep the faith. It ain't over with yet.